We have some young participants in Leuven, and that's one of the messages that I think we need especially to share with them. One is trying to hide, I see. And this is the fact that, of course, in this kind of audience, we don't need to persuade each other about the importance of human rights and their protection. But I think that there is one thing that we need always to be very alert about, that is not to be taking them for granted in any context, also in democracy. We heard our initial address, which was very strong and important. Human rights are at the core of democracies, but unfortunately we know that also democracies do violate human rights. So this is an issue where we need to pay attention to, surely not only with regard to other political systems where democracy is not present, but also in our context. And speaking here in Europe, I think that this is one of the points we want to be alert about. We are speaking at the European Union level of knowledge as the fifth freedom. The fourth freedom in the European Union are the ones coming with the internal market, the freedom of circulation of people, goods, services and capitals. We are now speaking about the fifth freedom of circulation and access to knowledge. So what the Wikipedia colleague and others said is very close to what, of course, we try to pursue and improve. Of course, we also know that technologies can be extremely beneficial to this. We know in many areas that technologies might have side effects, and we have also to take those into account. And in fact, some areas of human rights violation have been, sad to say, enhanced through technological developments in certain areas, including surveillance and torture. So that's, let's see the positive side of technologies, but also consider what are some of the areas, not of technology per se, but of its application that might be a bit more contested. But the question is if we don't need to persuade ourselves that human rights are important and that their violation is unfortunately still a current issue everywhere, as I said, in countries without democracies and in countries with democracies. The question for us in our research, Directorate General at the Commission and in our research program is, what's the problem for research? Is human rights protection basically an issue of action, of political will, of economic access to certain important assets to make human rights accessible? Now, there are areas where we do think indeed research can help in understanding why human rights continue to be abused, and also why the problem of human rights abuse and ways of enhancing the protection of human rights and the capacity to benefit of human rights can be enhanced. So basically the two areas where we are trying to make knowledge available for policy making and for public debate on human rights is on why, as I said, violation still occurs, under what conditions, in which places, for which reasons, and how also this is changing features. We have new rights, if you like, or new ways of enjoying rights, including through the use of certain technologies worldwide, but we also have other ways by which they change. Just to give some examples, we have research on the fact that unfortunately human rights violations during wars are as called as humanities, but if you think about it, the crime of crimes against humanities has been established legally quite recently, and this partly comes from the experience of the Western Balkans or the split of former Yugoslavia. So this is, of course, one of the areas where we are looking at in terms of the relation between rights and conflict and violent conflict. And of course, there are areas where we are trying to make connection, for instance, with how do we try to enhance security of the citizens and their welfare, to be secure, as the UN Charter also says, from fears and want, but at the same time not to have side effects by which human rights protection might happen as a side effect of pursuing security policies. And of course this might relate to the rights of privacy and data protection through surveillance, which is increased to respond to certain security needs, as well as others. We have, of course, issues of this happening in several countries of the world, as well as in Europe. Our research is normally comparative, and we try to, of course, understand with the mutual cooperation of teams in different European countries and outside Europe how research can improve our understanding of how human rights can be better protected, why they are violated, as well as to enhance the use of this kind of knowledge for policy making in the European Union and, of course, with our partner countries. Thanks.